Welcome to Mpai 600 here at Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies Applied Intelligence Program. Just announcements, paper presentations due now, tonight, yesterday, depending on when you are watching this. So hand those in. I don't think I've got any requests for extensions, and I should have those back to you by next week. So just reviewing week 5, just to hit the high points. The basics of the question were, how do we spot lone wolves or these kind of distributed terrorist actors? And the question comes up, when does radicalization get monitored further? When has someone crossed the line from free speech, constitutionally protected free speech, to actually making threats? And we can answer that question, or we can go through the spectrum. If I'm searching ISIS material from the privacy of my own home, should I be monitored if I do that? What happens if I take it a step further? Now I like an ISIS or a Al-Qaeda forum. What if I interact on a chat forum for ISIS and Al-Qaeda? Then do I go on? Do I get more scrutiny? Do I get put on a list for more scrutiny? Do I get watch listed in some aspect, or can I be arrested for that? And what if we flip the script a little bit, and instead of Al-Qaeda, it's Proud Boys, and I'm wearing a Proud Boys t-shirt in the downtown city? Do I get put on a list if I do that? An Oath Keepers shirt? Again, there's procedures usually for each agency on how when people get further monitored, but I can guarantee you that it's a human person who has to make that decision. So when does radicalization get further monitored? And the second question is, what do we do about people on the radar? This is an ongoing struggle. You saw it in the EU case study. The Tsarnaev brothers were on the radar of law enforcement. The Orlando shooter was on the radar of law enforcement. So what do we do about that gap? And hint, hint, I want you to answer this in whenever you do your final. When there's not enough to arrest or detain someone, but they're on the radar of law enforcement for whatever reason. Do we have the appropriate funding structures and people? Some of you might argue that we need more intel professionals to monitor the stream, the massive amounts of threat streaming that are out there. We need more money, more fusion centers. But we spend, on the flip side of that, is we spend a lot of money on the national security state, whether that's at the federal level, state level, police, local municipalities. We're talking trillions of dollars. So if you're going to say we don't spend enough, someone's going to ask, well, we're already spending trillions. What else can we do? So think about that question. And then finally, again, this goes to the lone wolves question that you had in your discussion. Should we just accept it? We live in a free society that fetishizes gun ownership to some respect. Should we just accept that we are just going to have mass shootings, terrorist access to shootings, or to terrorist access to weapons? It makes a lot of news, but it doesn't kill a lot of people, mass shootings, especially when you compare it to vehicular accidents or health-related issues. Should we just accept that? I'll let you decide on that question. So preview of week 6. So again, criminal intelligence. You have the Lemieux lecture. He's our program director, and he's an expert on this, so I defer to him on some of the criminal intelligence aspects. And we'll talk about CompStat, which is not a computer system, but a method of accountability that some, not all, have argued led to the wide decrease in crime that we saw in the last 30 years. And then I ask you, what led to the decline in crime? And for those of you who haven't studied this or haven't seen it, one of the largest advancements in human interaction or human activity, I would say, in the last 30 years, is this massive decline in crime, 60 to 70% decline in homicides and armed robberies that we've seen starting from the mid-'80s to now, even though we've seen a spike in crime in the last couple of years, but the overall trend is a massive decrease. And what has led to it? So I want you to start thinking like a social scientist and ask, was it better policing, better intelligence, innovative technologies, good economy, birth rates declining, or demographic issues? Start thinking that as you're going through the readings and start asking that question. And then the second part is going to be on law enforcement technologies. You're going to look at a documentary on the Boston Marathon and the technologies used to catch the Tsarnaev brothers. We talked about the intelligence failure last week. This week we'll talk about the technologies, facial recognition, closed circuit TV, and other technologies that were used. But you have to also ask the question, okay, these were used in a high profile case. Could these be used at kind of those lower level criminal entities, day-to-day criminal activity? And I want you to think through that as we're going through it. And again, the documentary we watched covers the Boston Marathon. Technology is actually expedited in the last few years when we're talking about artificial intelligence and facial recognition. So we could probably advance that and think how those could be integrated in counterterrorism and homeland security, but also day-to-day criminal activity. Is it too expensive? Can local law enforcement use those technologies? So that's all I have for this week. I'll have your papers back next week, and if there's questions or issues, please let me know.